Hey man, I just can't find a comfortable essay. I mean, I've tried everything. Literally everything.
Sheesh, my brother. I got you.
The HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless. Legendary comfort goes wireless.
That is comfortable.
Hello and welcome everybody to yet another Friday, to yet another Hearthstone cast, obviously. And this time we've got a little bit of a favourite of Wita, who's obviously joining me today. It's two Arcadia players stacking up against each other. How are you doing today, brother?
I am doing just fine. I definitely did not miss call time by now in the wrong way. So let's not dive that much deeper into that, though. But again, obviously, yes, two Arcadia players. Again, I get to talk about their coach and how much he is doing, both in terms of good and bad stuff. But let's talk about some lineups, right? So we have our bans already, I do believe. So we're going to see the Druid band away from Pootis. I believe so, if we're not completely mistaken here. Which for you is a bit of a grind, right? Because that's like, okay, we have an entire rotation come through, and the druid deck is still just token druid, so you kind of know what it's doing, right? Alongside that, there is the aggro rogue, still old school, still penciling around, still just killing people. Again, no eviscerates anymore, but still just using that wicked stab as well. You know, sometimes it does more damage than an eviscerate do, so it's fine. Secret Paladin in there as well. An old favorite coming back. There's no mysterious challenger just yet, so it's still everyone's business, which is nice. So get to see it in action. The new plague on the ladder as well is this Deck of Lunacy spell mage, where it's just like you play Deck of Lunacy turn 2 if you can, pair with like an Incantus Flow here or there, and you just like draw these random undercosted spells that just end up winning the game for you. That's what you're talking about, a good old-fashioned aggro druid. On the side of Aidan, there is a newer adaptation of Timber Rogue with a few watch posts in there, and Cargill Battle Scar to close it out. They also have a list going out around here with the Lunacy Mage. Aidan doesn't run the Cthulhu, whereas sorry about the face, Pootis does. That's a bit interesting because you don't run it for the minion, right? Like you're never getting to Cthulhu. You're just doing it to get extra 8 or 7 mana spells or however they tend to line up. Then there's the Control Warlock, again, good old faithful, and Control Priest, again, another good old.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I do think that the rogue from Aidan has been banned away, so you know, and this very much is something to your liking. That it's just a little bit more control-y now, or at least it seems to be that way. That the meta is shaping up to be a little bit more control-like. And I must say, Deck of Lunacy Mage, it might be an absolute plague to the ladder, but I am loving every single bit of it. I love RNG in that way, when this crazy stuff can just happen all up the wazoo. But I think the players are getting ready for the lobby, or getting ready in the game. So let's just get it underway here.
Yeah, I think we're just setting up the quote-unquote ban game here quickly, as the spectator mode is just doing bits for a second. Again, obviously, KO reduction, working on it. We should be fine. We are loading right now, so again, Druid and Rogue being banned away from the respective players. So as you can see on your screen right now. So I believe that's going to be Aidan's Rogue banned away, as well as Pootis' Druid banned. So going to be interesting to see how this goes. Obviously, this is not the game, worth noting, in case it's on screen right now. So the thing is, like, we have a completely new standards rotation come through. Like, a core set came in, so like classic and basic no longer a thing for standard, that is, right? Which again changes the scope massively about which decks are playable, what cards are available for specific players, right? And specific decks. I don't know why talking today has been quite hard for me, but it's a weird spot to be in, right? Because no one really knows how matchups are supposed to fully go. Because again, the set came out on the 30th, which is 4 days ago. So it's still gonna be an interesting one to follow and how it exactly is going to completely fall out. Again, obviously, both of these players are on the Acadian Knights team, so two decent players. Well, at least they're like well coached and they know how to like go to this. Again, when I look at these lineups, I'm not looking at lineups and thinking these lineups are really bad. Like the deck choices are correct. There are like no heap mage or decks that are suboptimal because the players do not have the cards. For example, like I feel like every single list right here seems relatively optimized. There are no like quote unquote budget inclusions.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be a little bit with the new expansion, that people kind of want to stick to what has been proven to be at least decent in those 4 days. There's not really a lot of time to figure stuff out on their own. We did see that in the previous week or the week before that, where we saw a bit of a higher tier token druid being popped in there. So stuff like that, they're going to take a little bit more time to try and figure it out, but we have got the first matchup, Aidan with the mage, the no minion mage, and then Pootis with the secret paladin. Exciting.
Yeah, so Secret Paladin, again, let's talk about an old faithful of the world of Hearthstone. Tends to do a little bit more, like, do a little bit better into decks that actually play minions, which don't come from Fonder Power, which you can see in the hand for Aidan right now. right? Because like Seaver's like Reckoning, right? If you don't have any minions doing any damage, Reckoning, yes, it will stay up forever, which do have some innate synergy inclusions. Okay, decides to throw away the Sunreaver Spy, which is one of the premier early game aggression tools, but does pick up that Soul of Fallen, the pretty much the entire engine of the deck here. Has Righteous Protector, has First Dev School, so options right now are aplenty in terms of ensuring that they get off to a good start.
And Janice as well being pulled from the Font of Power. Pretty decent grab, getting something on the board. Now obviously the Sword of Fallen coming out of Pootis, getting those secrets up early, wanting to build that very soon. This is the power of getting those minions indeed, so you have some pressure on the board, but you do have to be afraid of that 3 damage, which, well, that is something that you're going to be running against.
Right, I guess Penflinger is pretty okay, but in terms of like getting the Confection Cyclone here is actually pretty okay because it's a minion that can play early on, and the elementals that come alongside it are again really good to contest because they're 1/2, so they line up quite nicely against these 1/1s, and obviously, as we can see, Reckoning and Noble Sacrifice currently the secrets in play, meaning that we are most likely going to be seeing this Sticker Cone, or the Cyclone Elemental, I should say, what do they call that? Confection Cyclone, there we go. Okay, not gonna swing here, plays around the secrets that are currently at hand here. Avenge top deck, probably not what you want to see, in all honesty, right? Oh My Yark, Galloping Savior, and Avenger currently the secrets not in play, they're in the deck. Goes with Northwatch Commander here to just ensure some card draw. Decides to swing to the face rather than kill the free two, and again, right, that's a clear intention that Reckoning is in play, because again, you normally wouldn't allow that to be value trade like that, but I'm gonna see whether or not this Oh My Yark is gonna have any influence on.
It's going to be pretty unfruitful. 1 mana, not really that much swing, not really that much sway that it would bring. But you don't really have the effects coming in, which is going to be a little bit of a nuisance. You might have had something in mind. And now with the combustion indeed coming out, and that will clear it up very nicely. 3 damage, probably going to the face, getting a little bit of early pressure. No, actually no, the Noble Sacrifice obviously still being in the way. Aidan not knowing that now. Well, his 3 mana card, or his 3 attack card will get destroyed because of Reckoning.
Yeah, absolutely right, the Reckoning coming in here, but again, Pootis is playing a tempo deck / aggro deck, right? And they're currently way behind on tempo. Right, yes, Kazakh's gonna come down here again. Go for the 5, go for most likely stealth here, would make the most sense. Doesn't get the copy version, which I think would be the best one right now to get those 2 5/5s in play that would start just contesting and threatening your opponent's face. But again, even just getting the, I think they're going to end up being the cycle version where you draw 2 cards, which is still going to be pretty okay. Like a 5/5 with stealth that draws 2 cards, sign me up. But again, right now, Aidan with that Encounters flow into the draw here just has infinite time to do whatever he likes, to be completely honest. And let's talk about Refreshing Spring Water. Again, iconic thing in the world of Warcraft in general, but it's so strong in this deck because you're only running spells. So it's essentially, it's 0 mana draw too.
Yeah, it's so insanely good in this deck, and I'll be honest, I kind of want Aidan to lose here purely because then we have another shot at seeing the Deck of Lunacy come out. I just really want it to come out, I'll be honest in that regard. And there's a little bit of a building now on the side of Pootis, but we see an entire full hand on the side of Aidan with stuff like Jandas, who can put on some board pressure, clears coming in as well, Fireball being a high damage single clear target. It's not really looking good for Pootis. Any big threats that he is able to build will be able to dealt with pretty decently on the side of Aidan. It's just not really looking that great for Pootis, as once again there's another decently big threat being cleared out, and then a taunt spawned out of the Apex's Blast. And Pootis is in a tiny bit of trouble.
Yeah, and I think that's worth noting, right? The Secret Paladin deck, generally speaking, doesn't have a lot of direct damage. And that 4/6 is a very good, it's a very well-studded body to take trades on the board. Right, and again, you're looking at the card like the Mask of Foon right now in hand currently, and it's going to be great, right? But also, if you're looking at this specific thing in play right now, there's nothing stopping Aidan from just playing that Janda's Barov alongside either the Ping or the Encounters flow, right? So the ones that probably would be on the mind here of Aidan right now should be the Galloping Savior, especially because you're able to check so many different secrets off. And this is the wrong way of doing it, right? Because now you're popping the Galloping Savior, which means, again, not going to matter too much, right? Again, because you have a pretty significant board set up right now. But as like this 1-2 in play right here, not worth. And like it's just not worth giving your opponent a free fall.
Yeah, and then the attack with the 4-6 kind of thinking that there was no reckoning coming out once again. And he does have all the basic totems. Pretty decent Jandis right there, sort of falling coming out. Still 5 mana left to try and... He only has 1, and his highest mana card is currently a 3 mana card, and that is Revealing Secrets, which he has none of. This is Pootis. He needs to get something going, and most of his synergies are coming from Secrets, which he just doesn't really have right now. He's got an Avenge in hand, and obviously, well, the Sword of the Fallen being equipped, but there's not really that much ways to build his synergy up to a certain power that he can actually withstand an attack coming out of Aidan. It's going to be so difficult to get something up to a decent life total, and I just don't really think it's going to be big enough. Is he really trying to Penflinger him down?
I think I can do it right now. I also think the equip of the Soul of the Fallen here was a mistake, simply just due to the fact that, if I've done my math correctly, I do believe that there is pretty much no secrets left in deck at this point. Okay, that still is... Wait, what is still in deck then? Oh, still another Noble Sacrifice, I suppose, right? But outside of that Noble Sacrifice, deck pretty much empty here. I wouldn't be surprised for this time in particular now, seeing either the Fireball or the Mask of Cthulhu come down. Avenge gonna come out here. Fireball here actually cleans up very nicely. I don't understand why we're trading. So you're just taking this trade, we could just take a Fireball and keep the 5-5 in play. But I guess the 5-5 is still just a reflection. But now again, we're going to be triggering, or Aidan rather, so I should say, is going to be triggering this Galloping Savior again, and will now be forced to most likely make use of like the Mask of Cthulhu and something else, remove this freefall, just ensure that they actually do something here. But we can see now the right new totem is getting spawned from the Totem Goliath. Combustion seems nice. Brain Freeze also does the job nicely as well. But this is just kind of what happens with this mage deck, right? It's just so incredibly efficient at what it does in terms of just like cycling through its deck, going for these massive value tempo plays, just like the Deep Freeze. And yes, it's not optimal that this Galloping Savior now is left on the board, but with those double water elementals in play, alongside every single totem, you're pretty happy right now. Again, Pootis, you can try to fight your way through this one, but I don't see a way for you to clean up 2 separate 3/6s.
Yeah, it's looking very dire for him. He doesn't really have the secrets, doesn't really have the hand to be clearing that all out. You also have that 0-2 taunt you have to work through. It's a relatively easy task, you'd say, but if you are frozen yourself, you cannot attack. It's looking very dire for you indeed. And the Flame Strike is going to clear your entire board. It's something you've put so hardly worked for together. It's, oh no, I feel bad for Pootis right now. It's kind of one of those scenarios where he can't really do much except for sit this one out.
Yeah, you just gotta go next in your mental already to say, you know what, it's okay, we move, etc., etc. But, yes, you know, just take the Fireball to the face. But again, we're talking about this, yes, it's, technically speaking, it is just Deck of Lunacy Mage. But the revolving spell package, even outside of Deck of Lunacy, is still just so efficient at what it does. That, like, it just wins a lot of games without it as well, right? Because you can just start burning people out, stuff like that. But again, very nice, quick way to get off the races here for Pootis. Oh, sorry, for Aidan, sorry, should I say. Not so nice, pretty rough day, for pretty rough stuff for Pootis. You could say that the jockey probably forgot to seat the horse right now.
Yeah, I mean, if a horse breaks a leg, that's a pretty quick way to end the race as well, to be fair for the horse, but not necessarily the way they would want to be. And something that we haven't really talked about is that for the top of the standings, this is a pretty important match with both of them having only two... no, actually, Aidan only having 2 losses and Pootis only having the 1. So currently, Aidan is 5-2, Pootis 6-1, and if Aidan can beat out Pootis, they'll obviously be tied, and then Aidan will have the head-to-head. Currently, he is in the position to do so, and the Control Warlock this time going up against the Deck of Lunacy, hopefully. coming out.
Yeah, double Incantus Flow, though, is an absolutely banging opener, right? Because you think about what Incantus Flow does, it's 2 mana, and you just, like, reduce the entire cost of your deck by, like, in total, like, 24, 25 mana, right? Like, that is what Incantus Flow on turn 2 does. It is just that damn insane. So, Aidan playing Ellis with 2 guys here. I'm not sure I completely agree on that, but I guess technically speaking, it's just a 1 mana tap. But again, you can see here, I expect us to see double Incantus Flow come out here just back to back, just to be able to cheat the game out. Because the thing is that you just start cycling out, you start just making like very strong plays. But overall here, I expect to see like this onslaught of minions as well. The minions are okay, but they're not gonna be putting on actual pressure just yet. That is obviously, but again, Incantus Flow coming out alongside the Want Thief right here, going to be giving you some options. Mask of Thune, Fauna Power, Ring Toss is also a card that has been taught with in these specific lists. Pootis actually runs 2 of these cards in the deck. I would probably prefer to go for the Fauna Power just to get something to combat the board with. But that's not going to be the case right here, right now. And again, Aidan doing pretty much the only thing he can do in this matchup, which is just ensure that there's some like actual relevant minion threat on the board coming through. But again, that's a 3 mana Aya Cthulhu, Hardy Cthulhu as well. 0 mana Ruined Orb, so that's a very nice and clean board clear, which can just come out here. Even has 1 mana left over if anything juicy comes out of this Wicked Orb.
Oh, it could just be something I can use for the next turn. Let's see. Ruined Orb, discover a spell, Deck of Lunacy.
There we go.
Please take it, please take it, please take it, please take it. Might not be the smartest idea, but I mean, to be fair, everything will be so incredibly cheap. And come on, just take the Deck of Lunacy, give us some RNG, do it for the show.
So, at least in my opinion, that's actually the worst option to go for, right? Because you run Mask of Food in your deck, right? It's extra damage against this Warlock deck that has a lot of innate healing. And you play Deck of Lunacy in the deck to ensure that you do like OP stuff ahead of curve or things that you aren't supposed to do, so just to break the game. And who doesn't want to break the game? It's the literal reason you play the deck. But again, Aidan right here just going to be healing up, just drawing cards through, cleaning up this fighter, which, you know, quite luckily for Aidan was very low impact. Derail coaster. You know, you just scoot that away across the board. No one cares about that coaster, you know, only bartenders do that. And we're not seeing a whole lot of those these days, are we?
I know a lot of bartenders. I think they're pretty taken up with another game mode within Hearthstone where they have to deal out the minions every single time. You know, you can just get it yourself from the start. Ring Toss coming out.
Good old Bob. Good old Bob.
Yeah, I'll always love Bob. He's a hard worker, isn't he? He does so many things at the same time. Honestly, mad respect to Bob.
I also think that he's like my biggest fan. Like whenever you play, like I feel like I've never gotten that many compliments even from my parents. You know, like Bob is one generous fellow.
I want Bob to be my dad.
I mean, I can see that, right? So like, I was just taking like an actual break as you like delivered that. So it wasn't even like for me to just let it rip. Okay, if it's just evolving misses, I'm quitting the broadcast. Okay, never mind. Good, we're taking Master Cthulhu. That is good. Put down the Aidan again. Obviously, there's no minion in deck. Like, this actually might be a straight-up Cthulhu win condition game plan. I'm not even joking, right? Because you've seen 2 pieces already. You have the third in hand with the Morph Cthulhu. You would need to find the bard and you have Cthulhu in there in the deck. Right, so again, that might have been the reason for Pootis for going. Like, foregoing, rather, sorry, should I say, the Deck of Lunacy earlier on. Right, this is a matchup where they feel like they have to win through Cthulhu, which I don't necessarily believe to be the case, but again, obviously I haven't played this deck enough to really have a full scope of how it actually acts, so that could be the case here. From audio studies, I would probably go for the Phoenix, just because it allows you to set up burst turns in advance. But also, I feel like you can't really say no to just like open phase 7 damage or like 10 damage from Master Cthulhu. I feel like at this point in time, just put your opponent so low that they have to think about, they have to be very conscious about their life total for the rest of the game.
And especially the tap.
Decides to just go for infinite secrets instead, right? Because the thing is that the lower you take Warlock as a class, pro tip, as long as you don't do it in Classic because Molten Giants exist, right? But they use their health as a resource to draw their deck through the hero power with Life Tap. And if you take away, hitting their opponent in the face for 10, that's 5 Life Taps, okay? Like, that is stonks damage coming through, okay?
That is so much power as well. You're really advantageous at that point. There's not really that much follow-up coming out of the Pootis side, so maybe he's a little bit afraid of, okay, I could deal 10 damage now, but he also has the crystals in his deck, which could just heal him up, and maybe a little bit afraid of the Pootis side, wants to have a little bit more, and Refreshing Spring Water once again coming out.
Use mana first! Why are we doing this? This is Hearthstone 101. I mean, it doesn't really matter because you just... So now we Apexis Blast before we Body of Cthulhu, because we want to get a 5-drop before we summon a 6/6.
Always want to make sure that you have the correct order.
Yes, there we go. I'm happy. It's all good in the hood. Get good old Headmaster Kel'Thuzad here. Don't think a lot of secrets, a lot of spells, rather sorry, are going to be hitting minions from here on out. But always nice to know that you have the option around at least.
And now he's a lot closer, and actually, no lethal anymore. Siphon Soul also in the hand, and now surely Aidan is a little bit afraid as well. And then being from the same college, I would not really be surprised if they're also sitting in a voice chat at the same time and just chatting along and kind of taunting each other. It's Pootis can definitely taunt a little bit here.
Oh, it's so much fun, right? Because like I used to compete way back in the day, right? Like I would be like playing on stage against your friends, right? Like I had this friend that used to compete at karate at the top level of in Denmark, right? And he was so used to, like, those mind games. He'd just be sitting at like just giving you those looks across the monitors, right? Like there's like so much banter you can do mid-match. It'll be interesting to see where it's gonna be going. But that's Fireball. Right? This is gonna be pretty much guaranteed lethal coming through here. Mask of Voon dealing 12 damage. Yeah. This is guaranteed lethally with the ping without any mask shenanigans. But Pootis now will be tying the series up here. It's looking like a one hell of a series right now.
That's both the mage decks gone without a Deck of Lunacy. I am gutted about that. I really want to see a Deck of Lunacy. You're just
disappointed. You're just disappointed in them, right? Like just like you have all these expectations. You know, you want your kids to go to college, and they go to a trade school instead. Like they still do well, but you want them to go to college instead. You know, right? Like you're just disappointed, right?
The opportunity was there. They actually, the Deck of Lunacy, there was an opportunity, which he just actually did not take it. Now we've got on the rogues and being stacked up, probably, no, actually the one rogue being banned out of Aidan, obviously, but Pootis still has his rogue, which is going to be a little bit aggro, and, well, I say a little bit, it's really aggro, but it's not going to be coming out just yet. It's going to be another go with the Secret Paladin up against the Control Warlock. A little bit of a pacey matchup, hopefully.
I think that this is a matchup that for me, again, statistics aren't really to be trusted these days just yet. They just mean they aren't because, people aren't always, 100% in terms of navigating the decks, but it's a matchup to me that at least feels like the Warlock should have sufficient removal options to deal with whatever onslaught comes through from the Paladin, because, like, let's think back to what old school Secret Paladin did, right? It went Mysterious Challenger into Dr. Boom, into Tyrion or Ragnaros. Like, just like had those continuous big bombs coming through. And current iteration of Secret Paladin doesn't have that. Like, that is not a thing anymore. But let's see here. First of school. Always nice. Good old Elven Archer. Nice little bit of burst. They never account for it. Decides against cutting out the 1/3, which I think might be a mistake, at least in my opinion, because I just want to get onto the board as soon as possible, at least in my, whenever I play this deck, because you need to be able to put the pressure onto your opponent. You need to ensure that your board doesn't get wiped, and a 1/3 is such a nice stat line because it doesn't die to School Spirits.
And I'm sure it's not really that much threatening it quite yet. He does have the opportunity to build a little bit of a threat on board, or I say a little bit of a threat, but at least something to be making Aidan work for the removal. He decided to keep the tickets as wanting to remove the cards out of Pootis' deck as early as possible. He kept it in the mulligan. With the coin, Pootis has the advantage of being able to coin out a next turn play and be a little bit quicker on it, put more pressure onto Aidan. I don't know whether it's going to be enough. Aidan is lining up pretty nicely with the crystals in his deck currently, and just his hand in general. There's a lot of life generation.
Yeah, but like, so let's think about this for a second, right? Yes, Reckoning here will come down and will punish the, will kill off the Lucky Soul Hoarder, but this game plan from Pootis right now just feels very slow, right? Because you're just giving this Control Warlock, like, infinite time to go about doing their thing, right? And you want to ensure that you can put them low enough to the point where whenever they go for Jiraxis, they should be under immediate threat of dying, which is not the case right now. So Aidan is currently just coasting throughout and just chilling for a second here onto like probably turn 9. So Red's Protector into what here? I feel like there's a lot of like visual thinking going on, but not like a lot of actual thought coming out here. Reliquary of Souls, again, great card if you want to go long, but doesn't really add any additional pressure to the board. These 1-drops doesn't do anything. Right, so you can coin, then you can draw with the hand of a down, but like, we have a Frito in our hand that we haven't played, which we could just have paired up with a bunch of secrets earlier on. So now the big thing is going to be locking this board down for it to land double conviction next turn. But if Aidan knows what he's doing, he's just going to Hysteria the 3/3, get on with his life, not do anything. We talk about it, it's going to come down right now. And this board play that can have come through from Pootis just completely neglected. And now he's stuck with double conviction in hand here, which would have represented 12 damage against set up lethal. But it's just not going to be the case right now.
There's also the Crossroad Gossiper, one of the biggest threats right now that he has in his hand. There are 2 Siphon Souls, and Aidan obviously knows that there's not necessarily that many big threats coming out of the secret Paladin, so he wouldn't be too fussed to just get that away, get a little bit of health going because of it. And now once again 3 minions on board. He has to find a new way to try and deal with them. And there is another Hysteria if he opts to go for it. He has an opportunity to be clearing it out. It's just there's too much clear in the hand for Aidan, for Pootis to actually build up a big enough board to kind of circumvent that opportunity of the removal coming in. And Aidan, please don't play the Ticketus. Okay, he was hovering over it for a second. I was afraid.
This is not self-mill Warlock, okay? We're chilling. so Avenged's gonna come down here and obviously gonna complicate it slightly to get rid of the, like 2 killers. And this might be the first time in a bit where Pootis is gonna be able to actually slam a minion into the face of Aidan. But again, obviously Aidan hasn't had a soul share, stuff like that to clean this up. And again, now plays around the Galloping Savior, so no free fall right now. Another Reckoning coming down. Like, these draws aren't fantastic. No, to just coin. You don't want to draw the coin. You do not want to draw the coin. I guess we're cycling the coin. No, man! There's no way! What did I tell you? No, man, as I said, you do not want to draw the coin! You do not
oh, that hurts. Useful in this scenario where he literally has enough mana to play every single card in his hand already and doesn't need the extra mana. Oh my, that is what you get, Pootis. That is what you get. Watch him still win, though, even off of the back of this massive misplay.
I don't know, maybe he's a Boy Scout, right? Like, I used to be a Boy Scout out there. Learning by doing, you know, great motto. And I hopefully this is going to be the same motto that Pootis lives under, because you do not want to be making that mistake again, right? Since, I don't know, man, like, as hilarious as that is, right? You gotta feel kind of desperate, right? Because again, charge, no longer really a thing. There are no, like, Holy Wrath combos, stuff like that to kill your opponent with either. This deck wins through pure board pressure. And again, you know, yes, the strongman hasn't been, like, it's not been corrupted or anything like that, but it's still there. However, Kasaka's Golem Shaper who knows, might be the thing. But the thing is that you also do not want to fully overstep onto this board. Wait, is there a lethal in play here, actually? I'm trying to think. Because, again,
I think so.
if you
Probably.
trade,
Another one coming in. Yeah, trade,
you
and
take
then...
the 7-3 and then +6, yeah.
He
That
still
is-
won. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He made a mistake. It doesn't end up mattering whatsoever. He's just going to vibe along and actually get the victory nonetheless. Sure, that's one way to go. Just double eviction and bang it in towards the opposing face. It's a lovely strategy that sometimes just works.
I mean, Russ, I guess that was conviction at the end of the day. Pootis 2-1. I guess that's all we can say, really, about that. What I can't guarantee, though, is we're going to be seeing some rogue now. It is going to be guaranteed the aggro rogue that people are pretty familiar with, right? So again, obviously, with rotation, Eviscerate no longer in standard, meaning that it has now been replaced with a card called Wicked Stab, which is one of those cards that... So it has like a stage, like, at base level it does 2 damage. After 5 mana, it does 4 damage, and after 10 mana, it does 6 damage, right? So in like over the course of a longer term game, it does more damage. But again, it's not as flexible as Eviscerate is in the same vein. But it's still a very good replacement, which means that this deck hasn't really lost a whole lot of gas if you choose to not really think too much about the fact that Nitro Boost Poison also took a nerf, meaning it's now a lot harder to corrupt in the deck. Because it doesn't get corrupted just by throwing down the Sneaky Delinquent, for example, right? Those are no longer a way for you to corrupt that. But looking at this opener right now, Walking Infiltrator, Swindle, and Self-Sharpening Sword are all cards that you really do like to see in your opening hand.
And also on the side of Aidan, I think the main game plan is going to be just survive, just simply. And with a militia in hand, that is going to be something that... Well, if he can get the crystals going, relatively decent. It's a lot of 3/3s on the board with Rush. That is on turn 7. And with that Wicked Stab as well, you have a little bit more gas end game. That 2 extra damage could just be the difference between being lethal and well, actually not being lethal. The clear comes out, obviously not wanting to have that 2-1 be traded by an easy 1-1. And it's up to Pootis now to create a lot of tempo early game, trying to hope that he can evade the clears coming out, which there are a fair few board clears. And with his aggro rogue, pretty much everything is going to be low health.
Yeah, so right, there was the option in the previous turn to go for a Spy Missions Enterprise Plunder instead of going for the Dagger Up, but opted to do this play instead, just using this 2-1 for pressure. But again, it's worth noting that just straight out the bat here, Morag Artificer in combination with the new and improved Drain Soul that's come back into the game with the core set is just, 4 mana row, so should I say, deal 6, heal 6, right? So all this early pressure that's been put on by Pootis just gone with the wind in an instant. And again, now holding back with the Spy Mission is going to get rewarded with the top deck of the Greyheart Sage, and going to allow him to start cycling through the deck. And also, it's worth noting that we are in a point in the meta where we're going to be seeing a lot of acidic swarm boosts at the moment, right? Again, so this weapon from the rogue here will not get removed as easily. It actually will not get removed unless Pootis chooses for it to go. Again, double Drain Soul here is just going to keep Aidan topped up and ready to go, and also going to be able to push a little bit of damage. And again, yes, Pootis can do a significant chunk of damage later on in the game with combinations of the Pen Flinger as it comes into the hand here. Very, very lovely jubbly. But again, you still need to get there, and it's already a significant chunk of damage that has been healed away from Aidan right now. Aidan is feeling himself quite lovely doubly here, doesn't really care too much, even has that Siphon Soul to heal even further if they want to. And with double Lucky Soul Hoarder as well in hand, like, there is just healing for days present right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of healing, and the militia has 2 soul fragments to actually back her up. Not necessarily the greatest thing to be going for, especially against stealth minions. Pootis just wants to build a little bit of tempo, clearing out that 2-3 that has been a little bit of a nuisance, wanting to get revenge and just clear off the board in case of anything else coming through, which... Honestly, fair enough, even though there's not necessarily that much going on anymore on the side of Aidan. Well, yeah, everything is low health. I'm not too sure whether that's necessarily the best clear. Pootis is building up a lovely weapon, though.
They are definitely right, and just having the Penflinger around to be able to just continuously activate these combo cards like the Swindle just to keep the train going of cycling is going to be so nice. Second Penflinger being the pickup here as well, but again, the card draw is kind of stifled a little bit, right? There hasn't been like cutting class to keep the cycle going now, but with this continuous onslaught of the Penflingers now will slowly but surely start to just burn out Aidan. As Aidan now is going to be going down towards that 15, 10. That's going to be like, what, 11 HP now? But again, obviously has the Siphon Soul in conjunction with that Armor Vendor to keep themselves relatively healthy. Still, right, that's going to be 7 life in total gained, I do believe, over the course of this next turn. If that's going to be the case, right? So even more damage for Pootis to try to shade out and go out against, right? And obviously, again, it's worth noting that these Wicked Stabs, granted you get to turn 10 and that Aidan is still in play, but is this actually just going to be lethal with the...
it might just be.
That's 8, right? That is going to be 2 for each Penflinger. So Penflinger. That is 2. 6 from the weapon. You get to prep, which means you get to use 1 Penflinger. You get to use how many Penflingers here? Sorry. You get to use 3 Penflingers in the process, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 1 more. So I think it's 1 off. Well, no. With the weapon, it's easily.
Yeah, with the weapon,
Yeah.
it should be exact. It should be 1 over with the second Penflinger, right?
Yeah.
Just like that. That is the power of Rogue. You don't need Eviscerate. You still just kill them at the end of the day. And that is just the power of this Rogue deck. We've seen it was been a menace for a while. And again, Aidan had so much healing, but again, when you come into those later stages of the game, it's going to be an absolute horror fest to stay alive. And with that, Pootis in, I want to say convincing fashion, but it wasn't really convincing, right? But we definitely did get that, again, managed to, treat those accurate decks somewhat well, pile them very well indeed, but this was looking quite like we were going to be seeing a game 5 and just out of nowhere the Rogue deck just takes it all away.
Yeah, and that was in the previous game as well. Out of absolutely nowhere, it was literally like, oh, hey, yeah, well, I just have lethal, and it's a good spot from Pootis there to just instantly recognize, right, I probably have lethal here, I have a ton of damage in my hand, let's count this up, and he did that just so incredibly quickly. It was a phenomenal play, and Pootis now going 8-1, absolutely towering over any competition. Pootis has been an absolutely phenomenal factor to deal with for everybody going up against them, and Aidan also falls against his fellow Skull Shipsman? I don't know. Something like that. Yeah, at least falls to his colleague.
Yeah, again, I feel like if you're on the coaching day, I feel you're going to be quite happy with that. But again, it's very early on, and it's worth noting that we do have more. We have 1 more match coming out tonight, but it's not going to be It's not going to be casted by Etheria and I. We are going to be signing off for the night, the 2 of us. But again, there's going to be a lovely new pair of casters being able to take you guys through that at the top of the hour.
Hey man, I just can't find a comfortable headset. I mean, I've tried everything. Literally everything.
Jeez, my brother. I got you.
The HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless. Legendary comfort goes wireless.
That is comfortable. Hey man, I just can't find a comfortable headset. I mean, I've tried everything. Literally everything.
Jeez, my brother. I got you.
The HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless. Legendary comfort goes wireless.
That is comfortable.
And welcome everyone here on the final day of the NECC League Week 8. We are getting into crunch time right now for a lot of these leagues. They're crunching down to that final moment. Lots of players have locked in their playoff slot, and a lot of people have been eliminated. Yet tonight we have a battle. We have NECC Crusade versus Pie Monster. Pie Monster already locking in his playoff spot, moving into the postseason. However, NECC Crusade sitting literally at 8th place. He is at the cutoff. If he loses here, he is that much closer to being relegated. My name is Daniel. I'm joined here with Mick. Once again, we are here going to be bringing the last match of today. Mick, how you feeling?
I'm excited, dude. I'm so excited. I love expansion season, and then better yet, it's the yearly rotation. So we have like half these cards just going thrown out the wind. I preach it every week. I hate aggro, and it's not really a thing anymore. So, parties all around. Let's get it going because I'm excited to see these matchups today. Looking at these decks, everything's going to slow down a little bit more, and we're finally going to see some real good decision making coming into play to actually get these wins compared to perfect draws on the mulligan.
Yeah, that's always one that you hate to see, but you love to love as well. We will be getting into series very quickly, but keep in mind, let's run down some of the deck lists. We do have a Shaman deck, Pally, Rogue, and Druid coming out for NECC Crusade. On the flip side, for Pie Monster, he's running a Mage, Warrior, Warlock, and Paladin. And you and I both talked about this, Mick. We both said, hey, you know what? We're probably not seeing these Pallies. So let's go over some of the crazier decks that we have seen thus far. I think the two that stood out to me, number one for me was the Shaman deck coming out of NECC Crusade, and then on the other side, of course, we have the no minion, all spell slinging Mage for Pie Monster.
Yeah, and overall, just looking at all these decks, I'm super happy to see kind of how things are playing out. I mean, we even discussed the meta and talking about how these guys kind of play it out. And actually, we are looking at possibly seeing this ban match coming up. So we can go ahead and dwindle down our resources a little bit, kind of leave one of those decks out in the wind. But as we're getting into that, I can go ahead and discuss the ones that most likely aren't going to be banned, which is going to be that Mage from Pie Monster. And most likely Warlock as well, because the win rates aren't exactly at the top of the charts right now, but they're solid nonetheless. And all these decks are looking pretty good so far. But when we look at these ban matches, it's looking like NECC Crusade is banning the Paladin, which we did indeed guess because of the win rates right now. And Pie Monster's actually going to be opting to get rid of that Watch Post Rogue.
Yeah, Watch Post Rogue, also one of the big metas. Not the Poison Rogue. You were very excited and hoping to see that one. But on the flip side, let's go ahead and talk about the one that's left open. We thought, honestly, that it wasn't going to be seen, of course, which was going to be that secret Paladin, which has really jumped in standing. Obviously the Libram, that's what's been banned out by NECC Crusade. But on the flip side, this secret Pally, you would think it's run by something else, and yet I'm intrigued. I'm very much intrigued that this is now a standard setup.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you. And to be honest, I'm surprised that, it was actually kind of the tables flipped. I'm surprised that Pie Monster actually went with the Rogue ban because, breaking it down, Secret Paladin, in theory, I'll give it. It's sitting at a 59% win rate. It is just insane. It's sitting at 59.29% win rate. And especially its worst matchup is Watch Post Rogue, which, albeit, isn't exactly being ran by Pie Monster. So, I guess being he didn't run that whole counter, he's kind of worried that he's not going to have the resources to deal with that deck. Only issue is with that, Secret Paladin is very hit or miss. Right up front, it is an aggro archetype. Basically, it's as close as you're going to get besides Poison Rogue, which not enough people play, to really sit there and say, I need these beginning draws right off the bat. I have to find exactly what I need, and I need a little bit of draw on top of that because there's not enough to play with in the whole deck and what you're really handing yourself. And oddly enough, that's, leaving it in may be Pie Monster's kind of decision to actually give him that upper hand.
Yeah, and depending on the matchups that we do get coming out here, we will have to wait and see. But first match of the day will be NECC Crusade's Paladin versus Pie Monster's Mage. So I am loving this. We do see probably our favorite card, me and Mick. We haven't been able to cast it yet. Nell had one. We want to see the deck of Lunacy come into play so bad.
Easily. This is what I'm here for, especially seeing the Arcane Intellect in hand for Pie Monster right now, knowing he has a little bit of draw to play off with. If he pulls that deck of Lunacy turn 2, which I'm praying for, honestly. It doesn't guarantee to win by any means, but it just makes our job a lot more fun to see. We don't know what's going to come up. We read these deck lists ahead of time, and if everything just gets shuffled around, that's when we're like, okay, that's interesting.
All right, well, a flip out of 2 cards draws a Fireball and Combustion instead, so sitting on a primordial studies, very sorry, that's words that I apparently can't say today, and into Cram Session, so not the deck like we wanted, but still a decent set to work with, and immediately draw one of the priorities, so Ogwyn, Astromancer, or Mini Mage. A decent set to kind of kick your time off with.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot to really debate here with this. I mean, honestly, I think, yeah, the mini mage had to be the best choice because we know that no minion mage has a lot of spells in hand or in deck to actually play out the fact that you don't have a minion in your deck. So if he chose Astromancer, that was going to completely get rid of that synergy. You know, running the other minion as well, I mean, that would have also messed up with that synergy because you're not getting the full value out of it to get that spell damage +2 off that death rattle. Unless you get the Cthulhu out, which that's just too late in the game for it to really matter. So that was a great play by Pie Monster to go ahead and opt for that. And he's going to be able to capitalize on this cram session with it next turn if need be.
Yep, and already popping things open, you have a buffed up Sun Reaver Spy coming out, and that's going to be Font of Power drop down. Now keep in mind the secret that NECC Crusade is running is the Avenge, so going to be happy to try and get that +3/+2 minion in case he loses one, but lots of spells starting to stack up. Goes ahead and goes for the Gossiper. And again, we are taking a look and just watching these guys start to build their decks. We have not hit maybe that 5 mana that you watch everything kind of burst out. And that's just another set. Oh, dear.
Yeah, that alone, I mean, right there, especially going for the Incanter's Flow. I mean, when you're sitting in Pie Monster's shoes, you have to sit there and possibly go ahead and go after that Sun Reaver Spy because you do know that it could be an Avenge that a secret that's going to be in play, which we can see personally that it is. So you want to go ahead and clear the board out as quick as possible, find a way to eliminate these minions so you don't actually get that effect triggered off. But now that we do have this Crossroads Gossiper in play as well, that's going to be huge going forward because you don't exactly, if that's the one that ends up dying by any chance, I mean, that's going to give that 3/4 larger buff and vice versa, especially with that Gossiper getting the secret triggered from that and getting this Noble Sacrifice on top of it as well.
Yeah, and that was a Brain Freeze used. So opting out of using that extra 4 damage if you combo right, had the opportunity, right? Lots of 2s and 1s in there. But that might have actually been the wrong move. You can see Pie Monster kind of disgusting. That's going to be the secret triggered. Noble Sacrifice has been dropped in, and that's going to send Pie Monster questioning a bit. Big bust 6/5. And that's the next one used as well.
Huge.
Oh, you hate to see it. And that's going to be a final. Thought he was going to get it, and no, he gets right. NECC Crusade just patting himself on the back right there.
Oh, you got to cast those spells before you go in, man. You got to know how these secrets trigger. You got to think about what Paladin has in hand and what to play with. I mean, they see these deck lists, and Pie Monster knows exactly what could be on the board, and there's just not enough for him in terms of ordering to actually find a way to suffice this. I don't see enough damage in hand to clear anything.
No, I think this is just straight up lethal next turn. NECC Crusade does not have much, able to draw a 3 minion proc with a taunted Teacher's Pet. So might solid odd enough. I don't think it is. As long as Crossroads is up, you're taking a look. You have the North Watch in there, and being able to drop a few more. That's going to be the Conviction rank 2. So giving that one over, and yeah, that unfortunately is round 1. NECC Crusade grabbing that first win with the Paladin.
He had a chance. I mean, albeit whenever you sit there and get rid of that, I mean, whenever he killed that taunt, there was a possibility for another taunt to come out. But the likelihood of that is probably, I'd say, like maybe 2 out of 30, or they give or take a little bit. So, I mean, overall, that's just not the best draw right there, especially in that situation. I think that was just a play on Pie Monster in terms of his ordering. You know, you need to be casting those spells a little bit quicker. I know that Oh My Yogg is going to be a concern, but it's still going to play something. It's not a counter spell. So I feel like Pie Monster kind of choked up a little bit right there. But, you know, with these deck lists, what he's got in hand and what he's got to play with going forward, I feel like the rest of these matchups are really going to play in his favor to actually elongate this matchup.
Yeah, and, you know, sometimes taking out that one deck, and like you said, when it's rock, paper, scissors like this, taking out that rock when all you have, you know, in your hand is scissors, you can come out in the lead in that situation. That's kind of what this best of 5 can do for you. So let's go ahead. We'll hop right into the next match. They are prepped and ready to go. So we go ahead, take a look here for game number 2. It is going to be that Druid versus Mage. So NECC Crusade coming out with that Murloc Shaman deck, and I can't wait for this. There it is. No, that's not it. I thought it was a card, and the picture got me a little bit too excited, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I mean, whenever we're breaking down this Druid, I mean, when we go right back to it, I mean, this Mage, this exact matchup right here with the No Minion Mage against the Token Druid, I mean, I will have to say that Pie Monster is favored in this. It has a 51% win rate towards it. I mean, with all the control, I was even telling you this earlier, with all the kind of control spells, all the kind of waves, and the area of effect kind of spells going on here, there's a lot to play with to actually clear out these resources. Even if these minions get buffed, you still have enough to really play with. Cone of Cold being one thing that would definitely help right now. All kinds of resources for Pie Monster to play with and to generate to actually find a way to shut out these boards time and time again.
Yeah, this is a little slow going, of course. Drawing some not so favorable cards, all of them sitting at about 3 costs or 2 1s, and just not what you want to hold on to at the start of this game. And that's immediately buffed up. 3 taunts setting up, and it's going to be NECC Crusade. It's going to be very, very happy with the current setup.
Yeah, that alone, we're seeing one of the actual buffs from like reverting the standard back to its old original self. We see Mark of the Wild giving that Gibberling +2/+3 instead of +2/+2, what we've seen for the past couple years. So that alone is going to play in NECC Crusade's favor. Getting another one in his hand as well is really just going to help this man out if need be. But looking at his hand, it seems as if everything can be burned pretty quickly when you only had the likes of a Glowfly and then these Sentries. There's just not enough health to really play with whenever Pie Monster has plenty of generation going forwards.
Yeah, and that's all about the resources that you can expend. So that's going to be a simple Fire Blast thrown a Turtle's way. 1 left on the board, and again, we want to see what NECC Crusade can drop down, because really need to see how he manages some of these. You're going to see a simple attack, but he wants to expend a few more spells here, obviously, and all he has really, you can see 2 more Sentries, like you said. And then waiting for that Solar Eclipse. The Lunar Eclipse not really going to do him anything when, there's just not much in his hand. So questions all about, what does he want to do? Himself a little bit of a taunt, plus a little extra damage. So just buffing up that single minion that you're hoping to play with.
Yeah, I mean, in this stage in the game, I feel like Pie Monster should take advantage of this. He has plenty of card draw in hand. He has plenty to work with. And at this stage in the game, you want to go ahead and set up a way, look for those resources, knowing you're facing that token druid. You know that you're probably going to get the board flooded here in a couple turns. So you want to go ahead and start finding a little more resource to play with, which is exactly what he's doing. To go ahead and look for a Flame Strike, one of those Cthulhu pieces that could actually clear things out. And even then, a 6/6 is going to help immensely.
Yeah, and immediately goes ahead and picks up the Lab Partner. So double +1 on the spell damage. Sends for the Cram Session one more time. And that's 2 pieces of Cthulhu in hand for those that are keeping track. And those are also only 4 costs, so he is prepped and ready to start dishing it out.
Especially getting these 3 minions right here. That Firebrand is going to be another piece that's going to help him out a lot, especially with the combination of a Fireball with all that spell damage, albeit, and a Reckless Apprentice is also another huge help. I mean, with how much he's pinged his hero power so far, and having that Reckless in hand, I mean, I'd be praying that I can generate a Mordresh at some point. If you guys don't know, that Mordresh, if you sit there and deal 10 damage with your hero power over the course of the game, it's Battle Cry. It's a 10 mana 10/10, and it deals 10 damage to all enemies, including the enemy hero. So that would be an awesome draw for this man if he can find a way to pull that out with that Apprentice stacked on top of it.
Yeah, well, the only thing that you can hope for right now is not much, as NECC Crusade is currently barely sitting on a hope and a half, really is the best way I can put it. Throws down the Lunar Eclipse early, and then sends over the Lunar Eclipse now. So hoping to lay down into lethal territory. If he can, not even close to lethal, I'm very sorry. That's not exactly what I was thinking, but that's just going to be 4 turtles brought up. But there's enough board clear, like you said. Taking a look, that's the Enchanters being thrown up, and now Pie Monster has his pick of the litter. What is he going to do to wipe this board and start taking over?
I mean, when you look at what he's got in hand, he's got plenty to work with. He has that Firebrand. He can go ahead and ping something. He can find plenty of resources overall, especially getting that triggered off right there. Hero power that. Easy pickings right now. Honestly, I would say that's a missed damage towards face, because you know that Firebrand is going to easily trade into that turtle. But nonetheless, when you're sitting in Pie Monster's shoes, you're not really pressed for time or resources right now, because when you have so many cheap spells to play with, you know you have the hand advantage. I mean, I'm sure he's not really concerned at all right now.
And when NECC Crusade on this Druid is already throwing out that hero power attack for his solo turn, I feel that signals to Pie Monster that pretty much there's nothing in his hand. Right? You can't throw down any other cards. You're sitting there trying to do 1 damage per turn. That's going to take eons compared to what you can be putting out. It's going to be Font Power. Throwing out a couple more mages and draws the Wand Thief. All right, let's see what spell can come out here. That is going to be the combo, and Dissolving Missile, Wildfire, Cone of Cold. Once again, that would actually be very good. Instead, opts for that Wildfire. I'm going to go ahead and use that one to draw a bit more damage. That's going to signal in a couple more strikes. So NECC Crusade now with nothing in hand. And the Glowfly Soar may only be able to grab 3. There you go. Might be able to grab 3 with the first one, and then 2 with the second whenever he tries to use it.
Yeah, I feel like he probably is going to hold out right here instead of pulling those. Seeing if he can pull another spell in the hand, help his case out a little bit more, because you know that Mage Hero power is now dealing 2 damage. So Glowfly, that could be an easy clear with one of those hero powers, getting a trade with the Firebrand. And then what we see with the Fireball. And even then, just that alone, when you have the Apprentice with that buffed hero power, that's an easy 4 mana. Clear the whole board, give yourself a little more control going forward. So, I mean, it's the best call when you're in NECC Crusade's shoes. That's all you really have to play with. But going forward, I mean, Pie Monster kind of has this locked down, I got to say, because I don't think NECC Crusade has anything really in his deck that's going to shift the tides right now.
Nope, it's slow burn to death right now again with... finally, with the 6-7 on board, we might see NECC Crusade fall a little bit faster. That's just a Lightning Bloom. Yeah, he's just going, I got nothing. I'm sorry. Waiting out with 9 mana in his pocket, so could conceivably get a Swarm going for himself, but that, again, like you said, just delaying the event inevitable. So if this is all that, and actually there it is, so Secret Burst on the other side, so another portal is getting dropped in, draws up a Balloon Merchant. Who wants some balloons? Obviously not NECC Crusade, so gonna drop 3 Swarms, 2 2s across the board, and again, chip away at the health bar, just waiting his own demise.
Look at him. You can already see Pie Monster. He's eyeing that Reckless Apprentice. He's going to play it and get that easy little board clear. Oh, he better play it, man. He better play it.
It's 0 cost.
NECC Crusade, do not forfeit. Let this man draw it out.
Oh, he wants. Is he gonna do it?
It's out.
It's gone. All right. Here we go.
NECC Crusade, do not concede, please, man. Now I believe you have something in your deck that can help you. Just keep the game going so we can see it.
We want to see it, but I don't think we will. Yeah, that's gonna be the well played coming out. Throws down a few more Glowflies and gives one taunt. So facing off against a dragon, a buffed up fly will definitely do something for you. That's exactly what he wants to do. Throwing down some extra mana crystals just because he can. Gives himself, how much is that? That's only 6. So hey, plus there.
Yeah, just not enough overall. Just a huge steamroll as we see. I mean, we already kind of established. Oh, please do the initiation. Okay, that's 1 deck of Lunacy spell. That's all I wanted. Thank the Lord. So we get something to play with. But I mean, it's already kind of over with. When you see how much board control Pie Monster had, when you see those draws that he had, I mean, we knew that this archetype was favored. And especially looking at NECC Crusade's early draws, seeing how well he got those early pulls and really pulled things out, that's really what kind of ended that. I mean, especially it's Token Druid. It's always going to be the same. You need those initial pulls. You need things to go ahead and get the board established. I mean, he had the minions in hand. He just didn't have the full buffs to actually, get his board a little bit stronger. So that alone is really what kind of spelled his demise. But it's going to put us at a 1-1 in the series. So hopefully we can actually see a little bit more coming out from everybody because of this alone.
Yeah, and following up, it's back to the Druid for NECC Crusade, and now Pie Monster's Warrior is going to be making an appearance. This Rush Warrior, like you were talking about, kind of old school standard, but having some cards replaced in it, a lot more high cost, sitting at I think a large chunk, about 6 to 7 or upwards of 5. So little bit rough depending on how the draw goes, and already starting with 5-2-4, having to rely on a mulligan or a card swap is not the way you want to start things off.
Yeah, and once again, Pie Monster in the upper hand overall. When you look at stats, Rush Warrior has a 49% win rate against the whole Token Druid matchup. So I mean, overall, he doesn't exactly have the upper hand in this case. Once again, giving Pie Monster kind of putting the ball in his court, letting him have things to play with. But when you look at his hand right now, everything seems a little bit expensive. So if, NECC Crusade can find something, find these early pulls, find a way to get those Gibberlings to chain up, then get the Arbor up into play, I mean, that's going to be plenty for him to play with, especially with Pie Monster not having a brawl in hand.
Both of the players just going ahead, extending greetings, because I'm pretty sure the board's going to stay clear. Yeah.
Yep.
Just, all right, can't do much. Sorry. All right. Bow down to each other. Hi, Bob. Hi, Jeff. And be on your merry way. There's the parade leader making a charge out. Unfortunately, can't utilize that that rush just yet. But as soon as the next turn comes around, that Crab Rider will be riding into battle, enjoying a little bit of combat.
And I want to say here, NECC Crusade has a huge influence right now. There can be plenty to play with. You get that Lunar Eclipse down, you clear that Parade Leader out. You don't let that Crab Rider have that buff to clear things out easily. And it looks like this is exactly what NECC Crusade is going to find to get the Arbor out and establish one heck of a board. When Pie Monster, after checking the deck list, doesn't even have a Brawl. So there is no real huge board clear for him to play with right now.
That is a nasty way to hold it off. I mean, what can Pie Monster do? That was a disgusting set of turns. NECC Crusade pulling the perfect hand to give himself an overwhelming advantage here in the early stages. Still sitting with 5-3-2 or 4-3-2s and 1-4-3. That's going to be a massive chunk. I think dropping down to about 15 or 14 health. That is, oh man. Hey, look, I can do that, ladies and gentlemen. I called 1 or 2.
You even saw Pie Monster say, he said, well played. This is it. I'm done for it. I got nothing until turn 5. All right, GG, bud. Jeez, yeah, that alone, I mean, and now with NECC Crusade having all these spells in hand, having his mana crystals back, having Power of the Wild, that's going to be a fairly easy clear with the hero power to get that off. Get an easy, I would say, 12 damage. He has lethal this turn, and he can end it out. Mm-hmm. We just got to see if he can manage it, because I've seen lethals miss before, so I'm hoping. All right, yeah, he's got it. NECC Crusade going to close this out.
He misclicks onto Abusive Sergeant just by accident. It's like, oh no, I lost one of them. Now we got to go to turn 5, and all of a sudden, Pie Monster comes back, but no misclicks here. NECC Crusade goes ahead and grabs a second game for himself. That is only going to leave the Shaman here to play against a hefty set of decks.
Yeah, I mean, and that just alone, Shaman, I mean, we saw that it's not the best archetype, I'll say. I mean, it's obviously good. You're always going to have some success with Murloc Shaman. But when you're facing the likes of what, Pie Monster has to play with, I mean, this man has to get this Warrior out of the way. And I feel like that's not going to be the best matchup for this. So I say save that for later. Go ahead and pour out the Warlock, but instead we're going to see a different W, and the Warrior's actually going to come out again, which is surprising in my opinion.
Yeah, he's praying he doesn't get 3, 5, and 4s like early on. Like I think anyone would, and that's actually a much better draw. 1, 2, and 3 across the board, especially with Okara. Happy with getting that set up with the ETC, and actually chooses to replace. So that's unfortunate.
Oh no!
He took the gamble, and the dice just smacked him in the face.
Yeah, just lost it.
Oh no! If that is how this goes down, that's gonna be like the most unfortunate win. NECC Crusade watch it back and go, oh, that's why he didn't play that one card all the way to the left.
Yeah, and I feel like, though, going forward, if this doesn't close out too quickly, Pie Monster actually does with that Blade Master Samuro. I mean, that's the board clear, technically. So if he can find a way to get that chunky enough before things start spiraling out of control, out of his favor, there's going to be enough for him to play with to actually get a board clear off, especially without everything being rushed. So, I mean, we're going to see from NECC Crusade's hand, there's not really too much to play with. I mean, you don't have all that much mana, and you're having to think of synergies that are going to work. Issue is, you only get that one draw. Meanwhile, in this early stages, when you don't have all those super cheap cards, Pie Monster has the luck right now to actually trade that out for another turn.
Yeah, I mean, just stalling for time is all he's looking at. Goes ahead and trades one of the Murlocs out. Taken away that setup now onto turn 3. Goes ahead and grabs the Athletics, so happy to go ahead and pick up one of these 3 Tent Trasher. Rusted, and goes for the Rusted.
Good choice. Good choice. You need those taunts to sit there and stop all that aggression, especially when you're looking at the likes of a 1/8. If you can trade that out into a smaller minion, say for like Firemancer Flurgle, or, you know, that Voracious Reader, something that's not going to do too much damage and is also going to be a huge asset to NECC Crusade in terms of getting more value, that's going to play into his favor tenfold.
And now, finally enough time. You can see a couple 4s and goes with the Stone Maul. Gonna grab a little bit of damage sitting on 4-1 now and draws up a bumper cart. So, gonna be playing in the Carnival whenever he decides to, but on the flip side, take a look at some of the draws. Cold Light Seer just drawn Whack-A-Null Hammer in hand, and if that can be placed down instead, South Coast Chieftain ready to go, and that's gonna be a nice little snipe on the minion without dropping too much health on his own.
Good choice right here. Throwing out that Rusted Raider. Clearing out that Flurgle. You only have one of those to play with, so that alone is going to play into his favor a lot, because next turn he could have played that Cold Light Seer, gave all of his Murlocs a health bonus, and really just capitalizing on that, giving them those bonus health as well as dealing another 1 damage to face and to that Raider. I mean, that alone is a huge play, and that may be the turning tide to help out this man going forward when he has the likes of a Blade Master, Samuro, and the Crab Rider and everything to just kind of dwindle down this health. It's going to play into his favor a lot.
Yeah, and he's finally weathered through the hard part of the storm. And NECC, you can see in his hand, he is starting to struggle a tiny bit. And a nice little tag of the Abusive Sergeant popping it up with the Blade Master. And
oh, man. He didn't clear the board with it. He didn't do the Frenzy. Pie Monster knowing that he did this mistake. Now, we know that Frenzy, the keyword is whenever you survive the first damage. It's almost like Enrage, but it's a little bit different. It's kind of a combination of Enrage and Spell Burst. So with that Frenzy, you saw that the Abusive gave it the buff. It would have done 3 damage to all minions because it was a 1-turn buff. But he opted to go for the Totem, which didn't deal any damage to him, therefore not triggering Frenzy and not giving him that board clear he needed.
Yeah, and this is going to be a nice little cap on that Blade Master. One of the win conditions that you had pointed out is now gone, as that is going to be a nice little buff on Cage Match. After that weapon has been used, opts to swipe it out and drops Cold Light. So,
oh no.
First Cold Light used, and this just might be a little bit of an unfortunate series. That mistake might have cost Pie Monster this entire match. Oh, there you go. Never mind.
He has another one, though. The issue is he has to find a way to buff this. It's only going to deal 1 damage right now. He only has 7 mana to deal with. So I understand him possibly going for the Crab Rider, trading that into the South Coast, then into the Cage Match, but that's not what he seems to go for. He's going instead for a little bit more resources right here, which I guess I can see it now that you're going in for it, but you have enough mana for the Blade Master, so I'm kind of confused at the play right here of where exactly Pie Monster's next move is coming from.
Might just be stalling, hoping to draw a couple more. That's going to be a double snap onto Voracious and into the bumper car as well. So now 2 and 2 sitting with unbuffed minions and Murlocs, but that's a draw of another Chieftain. And immediately swap that one down. Drop 2 damage, and once again, this is a nice board for NECC, who is looking ready and willing to potentially, I don't think he's going to drop lethal. Actually, if he gets out the Voracious Reader, that could be a huge plus. Lightning Bloom up and going. So very close to lethal. I think sitting at only 2 or 3. No, sorry, those are slept. So dropping down to 13 is the count.
Oh man, that alone, you see these Cold Light Seer and one of those Chieftains sitting out, and that's exactly what Pie Monster needed to clear earlier, and how you just see it sticking to the board, just playing around and just constantly engaging those threats and keeping them on the board and finding constant buffs with your synergy. That alone cost Pie Monster this game.
That's NECC coming out of nowhere against a heavily stacked against him set of decks. And he comes out and actually puts himself in prime position for these playoffs. He's just going to give a couple more Murlocs the enjoyable time on the board, letting them see a little bit of action. Basically, the C team in a winning football game coming out to play. And that's going to be a send of the Murlocs. The Swarm has overtaken him. That is going to be Pie Monster dropping down. That is going to put NECC at 4-4 and Pie Monster at 4-4 to end week number 8.
Oh man, I feel bad. I honestly do. I mean, he even saw it. He sat there, went for the play. I mean, I would have been screaming in my chair if I was like, yes, I got this. But then not triggering that Frenzy alone, he knew exactly what he did. He was like, oh, this is over now. Seeing that, Chieftain and that Seer actually sticking onto the board, managing those more buffs, you want to make sure just disregard the totems in that case. You realize that you're facing up against a Murloc Shamans. So what you need to do is clear out those Murlocs. Don't worry about the totems. They're not going to get buffed at all. They're not going to be played with that much. They're not going to synergize off anything. You have to focus those Murlocs 24/7. And that alone cost Piemonster the game, just not focusing him. And I mean, albeit there was plenty of opportunity leading up for him to actually find a way to close this out with those other decks. But knowing you're going into that Shaman last, I don't think he was prepared enough to actually find a way to counter it, knowing even then when he had a control Warlock in his deck, and one of his decks as well. I mean, that would have probably opted a lot better, having a lot more board clears, a lot more resource to play with, to heal yourself, and also clear out the board a little more. I'm surprised he wanted to go ahead and opt for the Warrior instead of giving him some breathing room.
Yeah, that's just one of the things that you do have to think about, especially in the expansion week. So make no mistake, I'm assuming that we will see some tweaks to a lot of these decks, especially for Piemonster and NECC both, as they juggle that meta and moving into the final weeks. Of course, Piemonster will want to get a higher seed, will want to find a way to give himself a higher berth and give himself a little bit more advantage. But NECC, I believe, still has to battle through a few more spots to be able to make it into the playoffs. So we'll see him hopefully make it through next week, or if he falters, we'll have to keep track of that. But that is going to be it from us here at the Analyst Desk, here at the NECC Hearthstone Day. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name, once again, is Orbital, joined here by Mick. We have been your broadcasters for this evening, and have a fantastic night.
Hey man, I just can't find a comfortable headset. I mean, I've tried everything. Literally everything.
Jeez, my brother. I got you.
The HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless. Legendary comfort goes wireless.
That is comfortable.